Hello guys, Arcand here. Welcome to another toe dip. This is Devil's Gambit. This VN was developed by Roddio. Alpha Zero is the artist and character designer, and Minoanon is the producer who also made Minotaur Hotel. And also Eddio is the itch.io page designer. The story follows Hector, who is a badger healer, returning to the little town of Rannai. In that town, he has very fond memories with the friendly wolves there, especially of one wolf named Cagdan, who is younger and smaller than Hector, but that was 9 years ago when Hector was still a teenager. When Hector returns to the little town, he finds that much has changed and that Cagdan is distant now. So let's proceed and check out the story. It was born among screams, there in Rannai, where the day is enshrouded in a frigid mist and orange lights warm up the night, where beyond the forest the mountains of ice and ruins and trees alike grow out of a scar, its roots spread across the earth, touching all that dared seek it. Act 1, Chapter 1, Hector. One morning, a lion knight invited us into a wagon, clean, relatively silent, with splinter-free seats. As it took us into the forest, Dad made me read him a book, since I was falling behind in my studies. However, the twisted trees greeting us through the front opening, past the wolf coachman, stole all my attention. Despite his stern gaze and him telling me to read a sentence over again, my head was full of what had happened in the tavern the day before. While Dad drank with the wolves, I talked to the keeper's daughter, a girl, about my age with gray fur, round eyes and an impish smile, by the name of Triasa. She asked typical questions. Why were my ears so round and my nose so big? Where did I come from? When the girl got bored, she shot a glance at the adults before showing me that toothy smile. You know, there are demons in the forest. The lions say they are gone, but they aren't. What? You know that expedition the Duke did a while ago? Well, it was demons that killed his soldiers. The demons did it. And what pride that last remark had carried. Eventually, the path led us to an open area, and the wagon came to a halt. We got off and saw, past our fading breath, a mansion that seemed more like a castle, tall and white, with a tower for every corner. A small garden separated us from the steps that led up to the entrance. Standing among the bushes, tulips, and pebbles at his feet was a young wolf staring up at a window. His clothes were modest, his nape gray, and his hands and face white, sort of like a badger. When he noticed us and turned around, I got a look at his... When he noticed us and turned around, I got a good look at his blue yet fiery eyes. It lasted long enough to make his distrust palpable. Then he shot the window a last glance before turning to face the nearby trees and began tossing pebbles toward the crooked branches.
Hector,
Oh, yes, Dad?
you're so scatterbrained today.
I'm sorry.
A guard is coming. Pay attention and remember to greet him the way I taught you.
The tall lion wielding a spear shook hands with my father.
It's an honor to be in your presence, sir. I'm Iogan, and this is my son, Hector.
I opened my mouth, but the guard cut in.
We've been expecting you, Doctor. Please, step inside. His Grace will want to see you post-haste.
And so Dad forgot all about my greeting. We followed the guard inside and upstairs. I was told to wait on the lower floor, and that if I needed anything, to call one of the other guards or a servant. But I kept worrying about the greeting. I sat on the first step of the stairs, clutching my knees. I didn't think there was any moment I could have introduced myself. If Dad forgot, then maybe it wasn't important. With that as reassurance, I calmed down and looked at my surroundings. Wherever my eyes went, there were paintings, suits of armor, packed bookshelves, and display cases containing weapons or smaller cases with gems inside or other shiny things. So much wealth. It would have taken me hundreds of lifetimes of work to build this hall. It was best not to touch anything, but I was getting bored and there was no sign of the adults returning. A stroll wouldn't hurt. Down the hallway leading further into the mansion, there were faint smells of spices, fresh clothes, and wolves. There must have been servants working there. The guards were all over the place, but most of them were down the path to my right. I figured I'd go to the left then, since I didn't want to bump into anyone. However, as I walked down the desolate hallway, my nose let me know that I wasn't alone after all. I didn't need to see him to know he was a wolf. I turned around suddenly, right in time to catch him trying to hide inside one of the empty rooms. "Oh, it's you. Were you following me? What's your name?" We stared at each other for who knows how long. Cagdan finally stepped forward, wearing an unflinching glare. He was shorter than me and so much skinnier. The blue of his eyes and the sheen of his fur captivated me. "Get out." "What?" "Get out of the mansion. Demons live in this forest." "Oh, you're just like Triasa, trying to scare me." His ear twitches. "Triasa?" "Mm-hmm. Are you guys friends?" "I'm being serious." He opened his arms, inviting me to look around. "The demons chased out the people living here. They'll do the same to you because you're an outsider. They'll curse you and you'll be lucky to leave alive." "I don't believe you. Triasa said they only do that if you go into the valley. Not that they are real, but if they were..." "Ask anyone. You'll see." It frustrated Cagdan that where he wanted fear, there was instead curiosity. "Anyway, who are you? I'm Hector, and I'm training to become a doctor like my dad. Are you the son of a servant?" "I'm nobody's servant." I was taken aback by a sudden rage. He shoved me and I landed on my butt. Then the wolf turned tail and ran away. I chased after him, but he turned a corner and I lost him. Or rather, my eyes did, but I didn't need sight to track him. I followed this trail to the garden, to a little corner hidden by bushes reaching up to my shoulders. Cagdan sat cracking open nuts with his teeth before munching on the insides. His tail swished, disturbing the brush behind him, and every once in a while he pulled on his collar, as though hot under the sun. Either I made some noise or he smelled me back because suddenly he faced my way. He gave me a taste of wolf knuckle and Rannai's grass and dirt, as well as bloody nostrils. When Dad finally descended the stairs and asked what happened, I said I slipped down the steps while going to the garden. That should have been a sign to steer clear of him, but I didn't. I returned to the same spot a few days later, bringing a dozen or so nuts wrapped in a cloth. Cagdan eyed me with suspicion, but didn't hit me this time. "Where did you get those?" I pointed at my nose. "Caught their smell when you were eating them the other day, so I went to the forest and found some." "Huh, weird you didn't get lost." "All badgers are great foragers. Can I sit? I'll share some if you let me." The wolf looked away, and I invited myself into the small space. I put the cloth between us. Some nuts rolled out. We ate them while talking. "You haven't told me your name. I'm Hector." "You already know it." "I'd like to hear it from you." "Fine, Cagdan." "That's a nice name. Hey, I caught your smell in the forest." "Well, yes, I sneak out sometimes. Where else would I find nuts?" "I heard you weren't allowed out there. Aren't you afraid of the guards catching you? Or of the Duke getting mad?" "They used to get mad, but now they know I'll be back." Dad said Cagdan was an orphan. It was better to change the subject unless I wanted an angry wolf to rough me up today too. "Dad woke up to a spider in his shoe today." Cagdan snorted. "Oh, what did he say?" "Say? He was in the middle of putting it on when he noticed it. He screamed, chased the bug around, and tossed it out the window when he caught it." "Heh, must be the curse." "Sure." A chuckle escaped me as well. Even Dad had gotten a laugh out of it after the fear passed. When are you going to the forest next? Whenever I want, I guess. I want to come along. Cagdan made a face as though he was in deep thought. I guess you proved you can handle it. You aren't that much of a wimp. I'm not. The wolf swiped a nut from my hand, cracked it, spat the shell out, and opened his jaw wide. After holding that position for a moment, he laughed and tossed it back at me. I caught it after it hit my chest. Cagdan went on about the forest, but I was still repeating what had just happened in my mind. The moment he stole the nut and cracked it, his face, his sharp teeth, his claws, each left a searing mark in my memory. Act 1, Chapter 2, The Return. 11 years later. Thunder tears through the sky, startling me awake. The beasts of burden roar, the peg-legged coachman shouts, joining them as he reins them in. I grasp my chest as the old wolf subdues the creatures. He then looks back, smiling, his shape obscured by the darkness and his raincoat.
You all right, boy? Huddle up. We are almost there.
Yes, thank you. He refocuses on the road. I peek through the wagon's front opening, past the coachman, but all I see is rain, mud, and orange lights in the distance. He was right, judging from the last one.
Were you having a pleasant dream?
Yes.
What about? Some beauty, I bet.
Actually, it was about my first visit to Rannai.
So this is your second time?
I've lost count. I used to pass through every few months with my father. The coachman snaps his fingers.
Right, the badger doctor and his kid. You're the kid, right? You've grown into a proper doctor. Can tell just by looking at you. You stayed in Leopoldino's mansion, if memory serves me right. Did you meet any demons? They used to say it was a mistake building in the forest, that the demons would chase him out.
It wasn't haunted, no, but I don't think living in the middle of that forest in such a big empty house is healthy for the mind.
Figures. Leopoldino lived there for years, and the new duke settled there right after assuming his title. You must be right.
The new duke?
He summoned you, right? Your daddy worked under Leopoldino, and now you work under his son. That's fate for you.
What happened to Leopoldino?
He died a little more than a year ago. His son took over after that. Let me tell you, if you thought Leopoldino was a beast, then his son is an actual demon.
An orange light, I think a window, passes by the coachman and the wagon slows down. The rain falls in full fury, droplet after droplet bouncing off the old wolf's raincoat and splashing onto the floor.
We're here, kid. Hurry and go. There's a tavern nearby.
Holding my case above me, I hop off the back into the storm. The coachman shouts and the wagon departs while I try to find my way within the blur of rain and wind. I follow the window's orange glow like a lighthouse's signal, mud engulfing my shoes with every step. I'm so close. The noise of me rushing into the building draws some gazes. A few linger, though in time all return to their friends, their drinks, or a lamp hanging from a wall. Most of the patrons are wolves, with a few lions mixed in, though the latter group doesn't look like guards. They must have gotten caught in the storm and taken refuge here, as evidenced by the occasional water drops and the wet fur smell. Sitting at a table in the corner is a lion dressed in silky clothes and a middle-aged wolf with an arm in a cast and an eye patch. The canine stares into an empty mug while the lion whispers to him. That aside, there's alcohol and the sweet smell of stew being prepared in the air, which immediately reminds me how hungry I am. I only notice the extraordinary thing about this tavern when I find the bar. Behind it is a gold-plated dragon, probably the largest man I've ever seen. He's already waving for me to get closer, a wide smile on his face. And God, what a smile! It takes me back to the way Dad looked at me after I had treated my first patient.
Hey, welcome to Arwell's Nest. I'm Arwell. Looking for food or a room?
Both, please.
How long are you planning to stay?
I'm not sure. Let's say for a while? He inspects me from head to toe.
I got a special offer for you. You get a room and 2 meals, just for 25 coins a day.
I cringe at those last words, but still reach inside my wallet. 25?
Sorry, friend, but I know you can afford it. It's clear as day you're one of His Grace's new doctors.
Never has someone ripped me off so earnestly. I could wait until the rain stops to check the other ends, but walking off after that smile would leave me with an unpleasant taste in my mouth. Besides, I can afford it. Alright, sure, you got me.
Thank you kindly. Here's your key.
Arwell invites me to sit at the bar, saying lunch would be ready soon, but I would much rather unpack first. I go up the creaky staircase to the second floor and into the third door to my left. The storm's howling is like a lullaby in the dark, musty room. My eyelids get heavier, though my belly's rumbling keeps the slumber at bay. I open my case on the bed to unpack, but first I look for something to dry myself with. I glance at the window, focusing on the droplets splashing against it. Does he still live in Rannai, I wonder? What does he look like now? Will we recognize each other if we meet? A sigh escapes my lips. Wherever you are, I hope there's a roof over your head, Cagdan. Next, I check my belt bag is properly stocked. My glasses, a few elixirs, bandages, and a pair of gloves are all packed tightly inside. This way I don't need to worry about an emergency catching me with my pants down. I'm in the middle of assembling my brewing equipment when a muffled shout comes from downstairs. Maybe Arwell is calling me because the food is ready? Although it didn't sound like him. It continues, and it's getting louder. Curious, I make my way to the staircase to peek down. Arwell is looking a third of his size, practically crouching behind the bar. The wolf with the arm in the cast is standing up now, hurling bare-fanged accusations at the lion. The feline glares at him, his hands clasped on the table.
You can't do this to me. Where will my family go?
Be quiet, mongrel. This is out of my control. It's a responsibility to pay your taxes on time. That said, if you lack coin and you are unwilling to let go of your property, which in actuality belongs to His Grace, there are plenty of other ways to repay your debt. A snarl escapes the wolf's mouth as he grabs the mug and raises it high up. The wide-eyed lion abandons his bravado and tries to dodge, but it's too late. The canine swings the mug down, only for someone to catch his wrist. During their argument, Arwell had run into the kitchen, calling out a name. A wolf came out after. I only caught a glimpse of a blue cape and a grey back as he dashed toward the commotion. This newcomer, tall and wide as a mountain, had stopped the swing at the last second. I'm transfixed by him, trying to extract as much detail as possible from what little the cape leaves exposed. It's when he looks at the other wolf and I see his face that my mind goes numb. My legs take me downstairs of their own accord.
Damn you, Cagdan. Let go.
Stop it, Sean. What good will it do you to attack him?
I don't care. What's the worst that'll happen? Me being thrown in jail? Ha! At least then I can sleep under a roof.
You're naive if you think the Duke will be so merciful to a man who can't even work a plot of land. Put the mug down. Sean struggles against the bigger man's grip, to no avail. Eventually he lowers his ears in resignation and does as commanded, at which point Cagdan releases him. The lion clears his throat. It's good that at least one of you is reasonable. Cagdan frowns at the lion. Is this about his debt again? The Duke's patience and mercy have their limits. He must repay it one way or another. How much? Excuse me? How much is it? I'll pay for him. He reaches for his purse, but Sean protests, shock in his eye.
You can't, Cagdan. You don't have that much money either.
What's your plan, then?
I don't know, but
I earn more than most. Believe me, I'll be all right. You're the one in need here, Sean. It's a rough time for all of us. We need to support each other, or else Rannai might break for good. I'm only doing what's right.
Cagdan.
The smaller wolf can't hold his tears anymore. Cagdan pats him on the shoulder and then continues the conversation about payment with the debt collector. I'm dumbstruck on the bottom step, with a foolish expression plastered all over my face. It takes a wolf wanting to get to his room to drag me back to reality.
Hey, do you mind getting out of the way?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just, The canine raises an eyebrow and shakes his head before proceeding upstairs. Even after the tax collector leaves, preferring the company of the rain over the wolves, there's tension in the air. Arwell tries to soothe everybody's mood by announcing lunch is ready. Cagdan pats Sean on the shoulder one more time and goes to sit at the bar. I stare at Cagdan all the while. Is it really him? God, he might be shorter than Arwell, but that mountain-like disposition makes him seem the biggest person in the room. And speaking of the dragon, he gestures for me to come closer.
What are you doing? Why not take a seat, buddy?
Yes, you're right. Thank you. Every joint and sinew feels rigid as I sit next to Cagdan. Goodness, why am I so nervous? Are you afraid he'll greet you by snapping you in half like a twig, Hector? Wait, that isn't so unlikely.
I'm afraid I didn't catch your name earlier, friend.
Hector. I'm Hector of Obland. The wolf's ears twitch, and slowly he looks up from the counter. By the time Cagdan's gaze falls on me, I'm resigned to whatever fate he has in store for his old friend. Back in the day, a tackle and a chokehold had become his mandatory greeting after months of absence. He was a child then, now he's a giant. Surely he will strangle me dead with his biceps and forearm, but despite knowing my inevitable demise, I feel at peace, even giddy. However, the wolf merely looks at me.
Well, that's a face I haven't seen in a long time.
Indeed, you've, grown. His ear twitches.
And you've become a full-fledged doctor. You two know each other?
Mm-hmm, we go way back.
Isn't that right, Hector?
I clear my throat, mostly to buy time to gather my wits. Cagdan was one of my father's patients, but we became great friends during that time. I didn't know if you still lived in town, but I was planning to look for you after seeing the Duke. To think we'd run into each other right away. A chilly wind from the times before Arwell's Nest, when trees and pale sunlight surrounded us near the Duke's mansion, blows past my ears. It doesn't disturb me, because Cagdan leads the way with that expression hotter than any flame, stone or iron.
Before I let you two catch up, would you like a drink, Hector? The first one's on the house.
Oh, of course. Thank you. It smells great.
And one for Cagdan for helping Sean. Appreciate it.
Arwell retreats into the kitchen to finish preparing lunch. We take sips from our drinks while we talk.
You seemed surprised a while ago.
Well, I was expecting to find a skinny wolf about my height. What have you been doing to earn that physique?
A lot of jobs, most of them unremarkable. Nowadays I'm a lumberjack and the town's unofficial peacekeeper.
I slap the bar, cackling. You? Peacekeeper? You're joking.
No, I'm serious.
The resurfacing childhood memories bring a smile to his face. It's a small, fragile thing, and it only lasts for an instant. Then he's back to that serious expression. What does Rannai even need a peacekeeper for? We never heard about there being much trouble in town.
Yes, it used to be peaceful, but things change.
Cagdan suddenly turns toward the kitchen. What is it?
The food is ready.
Arwell exits the kitchen carrying an enormous iron pot and begins serving the stew, which is a rather simple mix of egg, meat, and some fruit or vegetable I don't recognize. The latter part gives it an exotic smell that makes my stomach twist in hunger. Because we only stayed in the Duke's mansion, I didn't taste the local cuisine much. Leopoldina preferred ingredients imported from his homeland. I can barely resist shoving the first few spoonfuls into my mouth. Control yourself, Hector. Don't embarrass yourself in front of Cagdan so soon.
Want some, Cagdan? No, thank you. The free beer was enough compensation.
Let me treat you to a bowl, then.
You don't have to. Yes, let me treat him. Haha, this one's for helping in the kitchen.
Arwell serves the wolf stew anyway and walks away. After my stomach is half full and my plate half empty, I recall what Cagdan said before the dragon returned. Even having noticed the darkness behind those words, my curiosity gets the best of me. What did you mean earlier by the town changing?
Do you not know what's happening?
I figure something bad happened, but the job description was very vague. It just said the Duke was summoning many doctors here. The wolf falls silent for a moment.
It started with Manolino's arrival. Leopoldino wasn't a good ruler, but he knew there were limits to how much he should intervene with town life. He ruled Rannai with an iron fist, but knew it was more profitable to keep it sane and running. Manolino, he doesn't care. He's been pulling people away from their jobs, getting them mangled out there in the valley, and sending them back home, expecting them to work and pay taxes as though they didn't break an arm. That's what happened earlier.
That's awful. I thought there had been a flood, a big accident, or something to that effect. I didn't think it'd be this bad. But Manuelino... Oh, do you mean Manuel? I knew they were related, but to think he was Leopoldino's heir.
Sorry, I picked up the habit of calling him that from the others. Make sure you call him your grace and all that. And one more thing.
The wolf lowers his voice and drags his chair closer. The touch of his arm against mine startles me.
Whatever you do, avoid mentioning the legends about the demons to the Duke. If he brings them up, just let him talk and nod, and don't contradict him.
He's not a fan of folklore, huh? Cagdan side-eyes a nearby table where some lions sit.
It's not that, but let's talk about it later when we don't have as much company. So, how about you, Hector? How has life treated you these last years?
Slowly, I stir what remains of my stew. My memories of Rannai are nothing but sweet, but I never think about what happened next. When I wake up, I pretend I don't know when I became a doctor, or why Dad is gone. When I go to bed, it comes back to me. I shut my eyes and hope I can ignore the noise until sunrise.